vacation. Living the American nightmare, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You are now listening to
Notes from the Underground.
Observations Over Strange Times, with your host, the narrator.
So what's up, dude?
Living the dream, brother.
Welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Thanks for doing this. I appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely.
Man.
It's been way too damn long.
I was thinking about this today, actually. I think the last time I saw you was about 2 weeks before my son was born.
Yeah.
And he is 15 months old about 2 weeks ago. So
I've just been saying 2 years to make it a nice even round number.
So yeah, it's been a long time. What you been up to?
Survived a plague. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, so far anyway.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, dude, it's been so wild.
Some might say the wildest. At least of our time, you know.
What's it been like? Because you live more down in the city. What's it been like down there?
Like for my job, I am literally in people's homes, like on their turf, where they can just be free to be as crazy as they want to be.
Oh, Jesus.
So yeah, it's been intense.
I'm sure you have to wear a mask and stuff when you go in
Not so much
houses.
anymore. Now where I'm at, it's a pretty red area. You know,
Okay.
A lot of working professionals, a lot of people that are already vaccinated or have already had it. So it's settled down really fast.
Right.
We still have a couple of tenants that still have yet to come out of their homes.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's been
It's
it's
been
going
like
on
2
years that they've been inside of a 900 square foot box of their own volition.
At this point, you're just crazy at this point. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Probably, yeah, crazy because you're still that ridiculous, but you've probably gone crazy.
Self-isolation,
at this point.
yeah. I mean, it's
Oh my God.
no joke.
Oh God.
But yeah, I've had tenants get in just swearing fits with me because of misdirected anger, and then 18 hours later give me a $50 Starbucks gift card because they recognize their own meltdown. But yeah, it's been interesting, and you know me, I'm just like a don't make waves kind of guy.
Yeah,
That's
kind of how I've tried to be through the whole thing too, except for my Facebook persona. But in real life, I'm just like, I don't want bothered. Just leave me the hell alone.
And same way, goes externally. Like, I don't want to mess your thing up if it's a simple thing that you're requesting of me.
Exactly.
If I got to fucking throw on a mask for 10 seconds to go get a fucking energy drink, so be it. It's your business. That's how America, it's
Right.
just, it is what it is. But
I'm conflicted about that one because, yeah, I agree with, if it's your business, you should be able to say,
it should be up to the individual business owner, not a state mandate or anything like that.
And that's the thing. I think a lot of the businesses are doing that or were doing that because the state was pressuring them into it. Yep. And that's where I disagree with
or even the trend that the state might.
Right.
Just...
And then you had the people freaking, like you'd be walking through the store and somebody's not wearing a mask. Dude, it was crazy in the very beginning. Do you remember in the very beginning when the mask thing really took off? If you went into a store and you didn't have a mask on.
I witnessed multiple meltdowns down by me, and it was just something to behold.
I didn't see any really serious meltdowns, but I noticed like the people would just be staring at people.
Oh, yeah.
And they'd have this look on their face like... Oh,
yeah, and it makes it so glaringly obvious how things in our history happen so quickly. Like, it really doesn't take much for a group of people to ostracize another group as the other and just completely dehumanize them.
15 days to slow the spread turned into 15 days to ostracize your neighbor and hate everybody.
And those heroes that we honked and clapped and had air shows for and shit like that instantly became the devil. Because
it's sad that I laugh about that, and I don't mean to laugh about
though?
that, but yeah, exactly. What can you do?
Laugh so you don't cry.
Right. Yeah. I've got a friend. I've known this girl woman. Sorry. I've known her for years. I worked
2021,
with her.
Jason.
Right. PC. Sorry. But I've known her for years. I worked with her at the factory back when we were like 18 years old, you know, and she ended up going to nursing school. She's a nurse now. And if I'm not mistaken, I think she got her nursing degree or certificate or whatever, and was a nurse for like a year. And then the pandemic hit, you know, and it's like, and I want to get her on to talk about all that, but I asked her, and I'm not sure if she's really into it. So.
I wonder how many similarities there are between a situation like that and the folks that like joined the National Guard or the Army in like 1999, you know, just to get their college paid for, and then, you know, one day a couple of, you know, planes knock into a couple of buildings and they find themselves in the mountains of the Middle East.
All of a sudden, you're not going to college anymore. You're going to a war zone.
Or you're just really earning that fucking college. Yeah.
And for anybody that's might be offended by that, I'm sure anyone in the military is not going to be offended by that. I know.
From my experience, they got some of the best senses of humor of
I've
any
known,
group of people I've ever met.
I've known quite a few military members, and they all have a very dark sense of humor. All of them, every one of them.
I feel like that's a pretty common trait amongst anybody that's gone through anything pretty traumatic, especially people that are too broke to afford therapy. Dark humor is therapy.
Oh yeah, dark humor is definitely therapy. That's what some of the best stand-up comedy is.
Yep.
You know, dark humor.
Yep. So
I see you've got some items here on the table. What you got for us today? Dude. I think this is the first show and tell of the podcast.
I'll be honest with you. You know, it's not something I made for you. I made it exactly for me. But I was thinking, why wait another possible year before I can get back up to where I can make another one for you when this one is still just as special, and possibly even more special because I made it explicitly for myself. I really put a lot of work into this thing. Yeah, I mean...
Is this the knife you made on the trip?
One of them, yeah.
Oh, how many did you make?
Two.
Okay.
I made a fighting style, and I made one of my favorite classic Bob Loveless inspired... So it's my interpretation of Bark River's interpretation of Bob Loveless's knife. Bob Loveless is arguably like the father of all modern knife making. Like some of his patterns are just absolute classics.
Okay.
Like his shoot knife, Bark River makes their own version of a shoot knife. It's one of my favorites. His go for 15 grand, theirs go for 300. Not because it's any less quality, but because it's a Loveless.
Okay. So it's like, I need a good analogy. With the exception of recent years, it's like the Gibson guitars of knives.
Yeah.
Okay. I understand.
It's like a Gibson versus an actual Les Paul old school 50s Explorer.
Okay.
Whereas the modern version of it probably arguably has better materials, better steel, is made with modern processes and stuff like that. So it might even outperform the original, but the original is made by the guy.
Right.
You know.
Okay, I get what you're saying. So let's see this thing here. It says Bark River Knives, Escanaba, Michigan, USA.
And that's another thing that I'm recently gleaning on is some of the best knife makers in the world. Like 8 of them are all right in that area in Escanaba.
Look at that.
So yeah, that is a mountaineer pattern. And when I texted you and asked you about blade length on your other hunter, I was like, oh, maybe if he's used to a longer blade length, maybe he won't like that style. But then I was talking to the owner of Bark River, Mike Stewart, and he says he has personally field dressed everything from small game to black bear with that exact pattern.
Really?
And it's one of his absolute favorites for field dressing.
Oh, it's a beautiful knife, man.
Just that slight drop point really helps not nicking anything vital as you're opening up that, stomach cavity and everything. Right. It's that little guard. It's got a little blemish on the bottom side of the guard because that was the only blank of this pattern they had there. If you look, there's a little grinder bite.
Yep.
You see it?
Yep, I see it. Okay. Yep. Still though,
and
man,
it makes it's character. It makes it yours. It's
I'll,
the only one in the world like it.
I'll take pictures of this knife and I'll put it up on the Facebook page. People got to. This thing is beautiful.
Yep.
You made this knife?
Yeah.
My God.
Did
man.
the white liners with that's actually coffee bags, essentially, like burlap bags that they layer up and dip in resin and then dye black. It's a burlap micarta.
Wow. And you made this by hand?
Uh-huh.
Oh my.
Well, I mean, I
goodness.
didn't make the micarta. The micarta comes in a block. You cut it to
Right.
size, grind it all into shape.
But I mean, you worked it into the.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
the maker's mark on the backside of the blade, Mike Kittle, he has been working for Bark River almost since the beginning. He was Mike Stewart's right-hand man, and they call him Mr. Skittles. And I did let him put the final grind-in edge on that knife, because that man can turn a piece of steel into an absolute laser beam. And I just don't have the hand for it yet.
Right. Yeah, you're still learning how to do it.
That's a Mr. Skittles special edge right there.
Oh my goodness, Todd.
And
this
that's
is
CPM Crewware steel, which is near impossible to find right now. An ultra premium knife steel, like one of the best in the world. It's a powdered metal, so the grain structure is unbelievably tight.
Yeah, man, this is a beautiful, beautiful knife.
High convex grind, so it's literally a full convex from the back of the spine all the way to the tip. And then this is a strop, and that's how you sharpen it.
Okay. You'll
With
have
those,
to
I'll show you the
me.
technique and
Yeah.
all that stuff, but with that convex grind, you don't really use stones. That leather kind of conforms to that subtle curve,
Okay.
and you just load that leather up with some polishing compound, and that's all it takes.
Okay.
Super easy to maintain.
Well, thank you, man. This is amazing.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I've been excited.
This is the first podcast gift. Dude, I really appreciate this. This thing is beautiful.
And I remember our hands aren't that far off. I ground that in right
Oh,
perfect
yeah. No,
to
that's
my
perfect.
hand. Like
That's perfect, man.
it's a little fatter than the way they come from factory stock through that little swell in the palm there. Like
Part of me wants to take it out hunting with me tomorrow morning.
that's
but
what it's meant for.
part of me doesn't because it's so beautiful. I don't want to screw it up.
That's the other beautiful thing about these Bark River knives is they have the best warranty in the world. Like if you found that knife in a ditch on the side of the road tomorrow, broken in half, you can mail it to them. They will completely replace. Well, they'll remake it.
Okay.
And send it to you for free. No questions asked. Doesn't even have to be yours. Like I said, some guy can just find one and send it to them, and they'll fix it up for him and send it back.
So
Use it. It's made to be used. I
was just
expect
gonna
you
say,
to
I
fucking
need-
use it.
I want you to tell me to use
If
it.
that
and then
thing
I'll
never
use
sees
it.
blood, I'll be more disappointed than anything.
Okay, then I will take this out tomorrow. Before you leave tonight.
That's why I've been trying to get with you, because I expect you to use that this season.
Man. Well, thank you, dude. That is probably the nicest gift you've ever given me. I really appreciate it.
Far and away the nicest gift. That took time, literally blood and sweat, like forethought, like
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I really appreciate that. That's
yeah. And
amazing.
until the day I decided that was yours, I was carrying it every day. That was my
Yeah.
everyday carry knife.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'll tell you what. Tomorrow morning, when I tag one,
Mm-hmm.
I'll take a picture of the blood on the knife and I'll send it to you.
Absolutely. And it'll go up on the Bark River page.
Well, thank you. All right, so before we get, I want to hear the story. I want to hear the whole entire story about going and making the knife and everything. But before we do that, go ahead and introduce yourself. Give a little, 1-2 about you, and we'll get into it.
Todd Boren, if it matters to anybody.
Are you sure?
I mean, sometimes, sometimes. I'm a general fix-it guy, handyman, like to be in the woods type. Been in multiple bands, I guess you want to call it. Multiple bands with you?
Oh, geez, dude. We've played together in, there was the Sofa Kings. That was the first band.
Yep.
And then there was the Sofa Kings Revisited, kind of.
Yeah.
That was the second band, because that's when Worm got into the band.
Yeah, when Clay was trying to be like a proto-prog, like I don't even know what to call some of the stuff he was coming up with. It was complex.
And then we played with, did we play with Waffle first, or did we play with
Jeff?
Was it Jeff first?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 3. Then we played
because then Jeff kicked us out, and we ended up with Matt.
He accused you of stealing stuff that
I sold him. You can do the math there if you feel like it.
Anyway, so okay. Sofa Kings Revisited, Vagabond Jeff, then Waffle, so that's 4.
Yeah.
Then we went as like a folk duo, Born as Wine. So that was 5. So I think that's where it stopped. So I think we played in 5 bands
the
together.
cover band.
And then the cover band for the wedding.
Yeah.
It wasn't originally
The
for
Love.
the wedding. Yeah, the Loves. So we've played in 6 bands together.
I've never done that math, and I'm really still kind of reeling from how high that got. That escalated quickly.
That escalated quickly. Well, you know what? I've done some of my best musical work with you.
Same, absolutely.
So for what
we've
that's
always
worth,
had chemistry.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, as far as me, I don't know. I'm sure all kinds of interesting little tidbits will leak out of this face before the end of this. But no, I mean, I don't like to think of myself as anything overly interesting or outside of the realm of too normal. So,
see, that's the thing. I kind of find that funny that you said that, because like every friend that I've asked, they're like, dude, I'm really not that interesting. And the way I see it, I've always kind of looked at our group of friends as this, because it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like a group of like artists and musicians. Like
it's
everybody I know is either an artist or a
friggin' Motley
musician.
Crue.
It's like a bohemian group of artists and musicians. Every person I know in some form or another is an artist or a musician, you know? So all of you are interesting, and that's why I want to talk to all of you.
Absolutely. I don't know. I've always viewed myself as almost like the most tame of our group as far as like history goes, and maybe like my behavior kind of
I'm gonna have to hard disagree with that one.
Well, like from my upbringing, nothing really traumatic, you know. It was very middle America, you know.
Okay.
And maybe my behavior later on was so
That's what I'm talking about.
Kind of overcompensated, maybe.
Yeah, I mean maybe so, but whatever,
Something
man.
that needed to happen for me to get where I'm at.
You
so.
fit in. You fit in.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
we're all weird, and if you don't have a will to be weird, then I don't really want to hang out with you.
We're in what's his name from the little guy from Game of Thrones there.
Tyrion Lannister.
Yeah, what was his quote? We were just a collection of bastards and broken things, you know?
Exactly. Not actual bastards, though. Like, we all had, you know, parents.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess I'm technically one now, right?
No,
yeah, because I had a father at birth, right?
Yeah,
Is that how
that's
it
what
works?
it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah, you had a father at birth, so you're not a bastard.
Sorry, that's a stretch for the ashtray, and I
That's
didn't want
all
to
right.
blow into the microphone.
I can put it right there. That's good.
So
let's get in on this this trip to go make these knives. First of all, how did you find out about this?
well, from the beginning, you know, when I was a kid, me and my grandpa forged a couple knives out of old railroad ties that we found when they rebed the railroad tracks from, like, by Hypenex behind his house there.
Okay.
So it was a bunch of, like, World War II, World War I era steel, like, pre-recycling,
Right.
you know, really
Virgin
nice steel.
Right.
And he did reenactments and stuff like that. So he had an actual like hand crank forge, and we were out there, you know, with the hammer and the anvil and the forge, just banging out steel. You know, mine looked like a sharpened butter knife, and his looked like an actual Bowie knife. But,
Yeah.
you know, it was they still hold an edge.
That's something I've always wanted to try. I've always wanted to try.
I plan on
forging a
taking some
knife.
classes down at CJ Metalworks in
Yeah.
Roseville. So maybe we can meet up after work and go down there or something one evening.
I could wear the same clothes. I work in a machine shop.
Yep, absolutely. But, you know, I'm not like, you the guy that just has knives and swords all over his house and walks around in a black duster with, heavy techno playing. I started off just wanting like a really nice functional belt knife, a companion knife for in the woods, splitting up a little kindling for a fire, feather stick and making, just whatever, a nice. And I started reading into different brands, tried one here and there, and then I, through the recommendation of somebody, I heard about Bark River Knives, and then I figured out they're in Escanaba. I'm like, well, why not spend the money right here at home? It's probably $100 more than I ever would have thought about spending on a knife.
Sure. And it's Michigan made.
But it's right here at home. It's cool. And then it's a weird product because it comes with like like you're almost welcomed into a family if you follow like the online presence. You get your first Bark River and everybody's sending you messages. It's a weird thing at first. But they start telling you about this grinding event. They hold it twice a year where they bring, anybody that wants to pay the money. You can go and show up over the course of a couple days. You start a complete novice, and by the end of it, you're less of a novice, but you've made your own knife, and it's a beautiful work of art because you're in a building with not only the super talented people that normally work at Bark River, but a collection, just a healthy smattering of the rest of the most talented knife makers in the world that all join in for that event.
Right.
So, you get just crazy talented people on a grinder in there just making art all day from morning till dark.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I thought it was going to be just me going for a long time, and then just on a whim to see if Dave wanted to just ride up there and hang out and camp. I found a campsite that had disc golf up there. I was like, well, if he doesn't want to go hang out there, he can at least disc golf all day or something. Right. But surprisingly, he was super into the idea and wanted to make a badass knife, and so he joined me. That motherfucker got a tooth pulled that morning. Like, it was up in the air whether or not he was going until like that morning. Like, almost passed out on the way up there and still just troopered right on fucking through.
Good man.
Yeah,
Dave.
Yeah.
Dave, if you're listening to this, good man.
Solid stuff there. So yeah, we get up there and meet a bunch of people that I've been chatting with online for months, and it just was, you instantly felt like you're a part of like a club, like a family, like you just known these people for years. It's a really strange, they're youpers to begin with, so right. The hospitality level is through the roof. Some of the nicest people in the world. Now, don't get it twisted. They will absolutely roast you and just. Oh
they're not pushovers.
No, they're shop folk. As well as anybody that some of the things that fall out of their face are just borderline heinous, but it's all out of love.
Oh yeah, I would say when it comes to that, working in a shop, nothing offends me anymore.
No, and it's when they stop making fun of you and stop talking to you, or
that's when you know you have a that's when you know you have a problem.
But anyways, it's just instantly welcomed in, and I was just floored. I probably picked a pattern that was well beyond what they expect anybody to do there. That smoke jumper is a very, very involved knife, like well beyond the level of skill that went into that, because it's a hidden tang, so it clamshells over, so you don't see any of that metal like yours.
Okay.
Where it's like a sandwich. You actually mill the pocket out on the inside.
Oh, okay.
On like a little hand. Luckily, I did a little Bridgeport shuffling while I was there.
Did you really?
Yep.
Nice.
Felt good.
Nice.
They were like thrilled as all get out that I just was doing it, and I didn't have to take their time away from them.
Did you tell them like you have machine shop experience?
Yeah. Well, it's to the point where I'm in talks with actually going up there to work.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I've been in talks with them ever since.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. You should go do it.
Well, I'm thinking about it. It's one of my dreams of mine, because even if it's just a hobby, it'd be a dream to be a custom knife maker. Just
absolutely, dude. If it's the older I get, not that I'm old, But the older I get, the more I understand if it's something that you enjoy doing, do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
And I am not afraid of hard work in the least. And I'm excited about hard work if it's something that I love doing.
Exactly.
You know?
That's how I feel. If it's something I don't want to do, I'll still do it, but I'm not going to be happy about it.
Yeah.
But if it's something I love, I feel this. And do it. If you can do it, dude, do it.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Now, I don't know. It's going to be one thing. It's things in the background that don't need to be talked about here will determine the course of that. But I was just very humbled that they would even, think about accepting me up there as like part of the group. It's really cool.
Oh man, if you get the opportunity, do it.
Yep. I'm going to start doing it regardless, whether or not I just build a room in the corner of my mom's garage for now until I get a proper house with a shop.
Right.
Living in an apartment's kind of prohibitive of
when you live in an
almost
apartment,
everything that I want to do.
You can't exactly have, like a grinder and a bridge for
No, and I do have a shop there, but it's like literally I got to pull 2 gators out and like.
Do you have machinery in it?
I have an obscene amount of tools. I'm a bit of a tool addict.
So am I. I love them. I love everything about tools.
So most of the stuff that's in there right now that's actually set up is already mine because it exceeded the quality of what they had there. And I would rather just use mine. I can use it and hurt it and replace it and whatever.
Yep.
And not have to worry about somebody else's shit.
Milwaukee Army, bro.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I've been part of that Red Army for a while now.
Me too. It's funny. Milwaukee Tools is one of those things where once you buy a Milwaukee, that's all you buy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You don't buy anything
just
else.
The battery life on them alone over everything else. No.
I've had my 18-volt Milwaukee drill motor for like 3 years now. And I've had the same 2 batteries for 3 years.
Yeah.
And they still charge. They still run great. They've got power.
You would freak out over my bag of batteries.
Listen to us giving free plugs for Milwaukee.
Hey,
I want
you know what? They deserve it at this point.
They really do. They are the...
Now,
as far as I'm concerned. I can say that
because if you're a Milwaukee guy, I feel bad because I should have texted you. I didn't really know.
What?
That you were a hardcore Milwaukee guy because... Thursday, I follow Tool Addicts Anonymous online.
Okay.
And somebody put up something. They have a tool mislabeled or something's going on. They had their brand new right angle drill.
Really?
For $30.
Oh.
$250 item.
For $30.
I got 2 of them for $60. One for me, one for Jeremy. I was like, Jeremy, we can keep mine here and you can just sell yours for a profit and we'll split it and have lunches for a week.
That's great.
So,
I wish I would have known about that because that would have come in handy.
If it ever comes up, I will absolutely let you know.
Because that'll come in handy for doweling, trying to get into tight spaces.
I'm working on furnaces all the time, and the burner box where all the equipment is you can't see this because it's audio, so it's about 8 inches wide by a foot deep by 1.5 feet tall. So it's just a little narrow little corridor and everything's bolted to the one side of the wall. So you can't get a drill and you can't even get full length hand tools in there. So that right angle drill with just a 1/4 inch attachment on there, bing, bang, boom, you're in and out. Right tool for the job has to be, it's better than any drug I've ever done. that feeling of having the right tool for the job and it going smoothly. Because of it is just the best.
Efficiency comes from the tools you use. You got to have the know-how and you got to know how to use the tools. But the better when that saying, you get what you pay for when it comes to tools is 100% true.
And that's where I got with the knives, my axes, almost everything that's on me anymore. It's all hyper utilitarian. Yeah, I spent some coin on it at first.
But you'll never have to replace it. Or
like
if
these
you
boots
do,
the other day, another Kismet situation that you're going to love. I love getting shit on sale for cheap. So I'm looking for new hikers, I gave my pair to Jeremy last year for snow season because he didn't have any like proper footwear for shoveling. And I'm looking around to go to REI, try on a few pairs, not impressed for like the $300 they want for them. Go to my local boot guy, Utica Boot and Shoe, another shameless plug for those guys. They're fucking They're good homeboys. Support
Dude,
your
I better be getting sponsors out of
support your
all this
local
stuff.
businesses, ladies and gentlemen.
We've plugged like 4 businesses already.
It is what it is. We live in a materialistic society.
Whatever.
So I walk in there. They have my boots that I've always coveted. I've always wanted these, but they're just at that price point that it was
Too much.
just nothing. It would hurt my feelings to spend that much on a pair of boots. Like that's just all
Right.
there is to it. For a nice American-made pair of boots, it's $250 to $300. You're right in that wheelhouse every time for a decent pair.
Yep.
This was that full $100 past that mark.
Yep.
That it's just like, all right, this is. If I win the lotto, I'll get the pair of boots or something like that. They had my size and only my size on clearance for $270.
Wow. That's not bad.
Yeah,
Dude, when it comes to footwear, I feel like I made a pretty smart move recently.
yeah,
Because I work in the shop. I'm on my feet for 10 hours a day. We have to have either, which is stupid because as a rule at work, we have to have either composite toe or steel toe.
yeah.
And if you know anything about work, which you do, if you know anything about working in a metal shop, it's actually a bad idea because if something that's 3,000 pounds
There's no
falls
boot
on
in the
your
world
foot.
that is
Right.
going to
Well,
stop
for
that.
one, there's no boot in the world that's going to stop that. But if you have that steel toe, what's going to happen is
Clamp.
yeah, and your toes get cut off.
Yeah.
Where
Not necessarily crushed off.
yeah, they get crushed off, but if you don't have that steel toe or the composite toe, yes, your foot is going to be smashed, but at least your foot will still be connected to your body.
Yeah, it'll be like a skin bag full of foot shards, but
Yep.
they might have a chance
Of
at
repairing
yeah.
it. Right. Whereas if it's cut off, it's cut off.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I went and bought, instead of a pair of shop boots, I went and found a pair of hiking boots
Yeah.
that are, for some strange
Comp
reason,
toe.
they're oil resistant,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is weird because they're hiking boots.
Uh-huh.
So I'm not sure how much oil I plan on running into in the forest, but
Never
whatever.
know.
We live in a fucked up world.
Some greasy bear carcass strewn across the trail somewhere,
But they've got the composite toe. They're oil and water resistant. I can hunt in those boots because they're waterproof. You know what I mean? And now, granted, non-shameless plug. Please don't offer me a sponsorship if the opportunity ever arises. I bought them at Walmart, but probably the best boots I've ever bought.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Footwear is
Footwear is
Key.
it's the number one thing.
and socks too.
Yep, and socks too. Your boots and your socks are the most important thing. Take care of your feet, and your feet will take care of you. Anyway,
Hey, this is what we were looking for. Anything and everything. That's
anything
what
and
it's going to be
everything,
with
yep.
us. And
So-
if you don't like it, move on. And if you do, hey, we're your
you
men.
know, hang around because there's more to come.
We're you guys.
So, all right. So you find out you guys head up there,
Yeah.
and now you say it's a 2-day thing.
Yeah.
Okay, and is it? So you've watched Forged in Fire.
Yeah, a couple of the guys were up there.
Okay. No, are you serious? The guys from the History Channel show
Yeah.
were there. Really?
No, a funny moment with one of those guys online. Somebody put up, watching this guy so-and-so on Forged in Fire tonight. That guy's own kid goes on with, why do you want to watch him? You feel like watching a guy lose because he can't read numbers? It was just the funniest burn of his own father because he lost because he made it. He was far and away more talented than everybody else, but he made it because it was the wrong. He lost because it was the wrong length. Essentially.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just funny backstory about that. But yeah,
So it was set up like that. It was set up just like a giant forge.
no. So that is a stock removal company. They are semi-production at that place.
Okay.
So the way they handle their orders is they'll release a pre-order through their distributors. Us as a customer, we pay the $25 to enter the pre-order, and we have a list of options we can go through, to customize it as we see fit.
Okay.
Whether it be wood handles, mosaic pins, different acrylic handles, whether you want a swed sharp, you can, run the gamut. And then they also release a few hundred, or depending on the size of the release anywhere from 50 to like 700 stock, production knives.
Okay.
So they order huge batches of these blanks that are rough cut to size from Crucible or Bowler or one of these massive steel manufacturers. It comes in, they have a whole suite of Haas machines in there that cut the blanks into the rough shape of the blade itself.
Okay.
So that they're knocking down time on their grinding and handle
so
assembly.
you're not forging any steel.
No.
Okay.
That's down the line. I'll get there.
Okay.
What I'm looking for is the highest quality of steel and materials and assembly as I can get when I wanted that companion knife.
Okay.
Versus like a forged knife is going to be strong and probably strong enough for your average user. I'm just a steel dork and I wanted something out of a super steel. So, I went with that versus, like a Lon Humphrey or something like that is a true forged knife.
Right.
Those are usually made out of like 52-100 steels, A2, D2 tool steels, stuff like that, are a little bit more easily manipulated, by hand. And usually those don't have the corrosion resistance or toughness of, these modern super steels that are formulated on a molecular level.
Right.
It's insane. So you're taking, you go up there the first night, you pick your blank or blanks, however you want to do it. You go into the handle material room and you're just awestruck with just optional paralysis, just way too much good stuff to ever be able to make a quick decision. So you're in there for probably an hour, just messing around, go through 15 to 100 different combinations of handle materials, liners, pins, all that stuff. And then you actually start gluing everything up. So if you go with liners like the one that I gave you, it has the white liner, against the blade before the actual handle.
Okay.
You glue that to your actual burlap and, clamp it, let it all set. Grind and cut everything into shape, let everything set up, and then you move over to assembly. Basically, drill everything for your pins, set your pins, glue everything up, cut all the excess pins off, shape everything, whatever handle shape it's supposed to be. Depending on who you're working with, they'll have you use a pattern, or if you're with one of the more experienced guys, they kind of let you
go for it.
They just expect you to wing it. We don't use no patterns around here. You see the shape in the handle and you make it.
Yeah,
and
that's
kind of the way I would rather work.
Right. That's about developing your eye for it.
It's just like your dad and everybody always said with the Bridgeport. You got to develop a touch.
Yep. It's all in how it feels. It's
and that's
all
it.
in how it feels.
You feel it.
It's in how it feels and how it sounds. But it's even more in how it feels, in my opinion, because I work all day with headphones in my ears. And I mean, it's funny, actually. If I'm machining something and I really want to know if I'm doing it right, I'll take my headphone out and I'll listen to the way the machine's running.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because you can hear it.
Especially if you've been on that machine for a while and you
once you get familiar with one machine and how that machine runs, you can literally hear it in how the machine is running, how the cutter is cutting, or how the drill is drilling. Yep. You can hear it. You know what I mean? But it's in the feel. You can feel the way it's cutting as you're cranking the handles.
But, so I showed up like a day early and kind of got a head start on everything, because another one of those kismet situations, like I didn't really know how it worked up there. Like that was the biggest event they ever threw. There was over 100 people up at that one.
Okay.
So they were moving people through there real fast. So I got lucky that I showed up a day early. I found the pattern I liked. It's called a smoke jumper. It's another of one of that Loveless classic designs. Just that beautiful, simple handle with the guard. This one's a sub hilt, so it's got a little piece of metal right behind the guard. To pull it out if it gets stuck.
Right.
So it's way more of a complicated design than they would normally have people do there. Like, it's a very involved design, multiple steps to the process. Like, I just went through the simple process with yours. That one, it was, all right, we find our size pieces, we glue these up for the first set of handle right behind the guard, and then you put that sub hilt on, and then you mill out your pockets for the rest of the clamshell, glue that together, let it set, then drill for your pins, set those,
Right.
and then shape it all, and then you have that sub hilt.
The shaping in
around.
it, when you start shaping it, that's when it becomes a piece of artwork.
Big
you know
time.
what I
That's
mean?
when you start seeing it. It really, especially when you're dealing with those materials like carbon fiber, burlap, some of the burls of, wood burl and stuff like that. You start grinding into them and you start exposing different contours of the material. It starts getting some depth in it. It starts
Right.
getting a lot of character. It's fun.
That's awesome, dude.
That's the tool I'm saving up for next. And that's the biggest, most cost prohibitive step of getting into the stock removal knife making game.
Yeah.
Is that 2x72 grinder. Even a cheapo, Grizzly Industrial one is right around $1,000
Right.
for, a speed control, all that stuff.
If you ever get real deep into it, you can get those little shit. I mean, I don't know if the technology's good enough, but you might be able to get a 3D printed blank. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I'd worry about grain structure and stuff on that.
Right. But
I would stick there's a couple of guys online that source high-end steel blanks, or they'll actually make you Damascus and San Mai blanks that are out of this freaking world. Dude, Damascus in the last few years has just come leaps and bounds.
if I ever get the opportunity to actually forge a knife, that's how I want to do it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
want to do Damascus pattern.
Yep. I actually have a messer being commissioned out of Damascus.
Really?
It'll probably be done sometime in 2023.
What is a messer?
So in Germany, and a few hundred years back, they outlawed swords. Double-edged.
Lame.
Yeah. Germans being German.
Hey, watch yourself. Watch yourself, buddy.
They literally just took one edge off of it and called it a knife.
Okay.
Messer is knife in German. And so there's the langer Messer, which is a long knife.
Okay, that
So
makes
that's
sense.
how they got around a sword ban. They just called it not a sword.
Not lame.
Yeah,
Those are my people, man.
that's right. So I got one of those coming with a crown sandbar stag handle, Damascus blade. It's just going to be a brush knife.
Awesome.
Just for bushwhacking up on the property.
Awesome.
Because I've gotten into harvesting burls off of standing dead trees and selling them for knife handle blanks and stuff like that.
If you don't mind me asking, if you don't want to answer this on air, what's going on with that property up? Is that yours now?
It's like a collective of the family, I guess you want to say. We just it's in my grandpa's name still, but we just pitch in on taxes and whatever.
Sure.
Yeah.
You gotta. Hey.
Anything we can do to just keep that thing in the family.
Yep.
Because I know everybody up there is interested. The one guy really wants it so that he can end up having that whole corner there. But
I'm a big proponent of owning property. It's one of the best investments you can make.
Especially if you look at the appreciated price. I think he got that for less than $10,000.
Yeah, that's
back
insane.
In the, late 60s, early 70s or whatever. And
I don't know what the price of property is nowadays, but I know it ain't that.
I imagine that it'd probably be up over around 100 now.
Probably. How many acres is it?
80.
Holy
Prime
shit, dude!
hunting lands
That's probably way more than 100.
River running through it, Bean Creek
That's
backs up to the Thunder Bay River.
That's probably way more than 100.
I mean, it's largely undeveloped, and I imagine that you couldn't do a whole lot with it because of where it is, but
Not true.
I mean, as far as developing it or something like that.
Okay, sure, developing it, but is it thick with trees?
Lousy.
What do you mean lousy?
Lousy with trees.
Oh, it's terrible.
No,
It's
it's dense. Dense.
Guys want to make some money to pay those taxes. Just start selling the trees
And
to
then
people.
there's 10 acres of meadow that used to get sown with like wheat and stuff for deer.
We should go up there and go hunting, buddy.
100%. Anytime
We should
you
go
want,
up there
man.
and go hunting.
Anytime you want.
It's
I got everything set up. I made like a tomahawk and like throwing knife, little target, and there we got the cabin up there. There's running water now.
oh man.
You know, you got the wood fire stove inside. I got the fire pit all tarted up outside
Yep.
for cooking.
We need to schedule a
100%.
camping trip and go up there. That sounds like a good time.
Got the 4-wheeler up there so we can cruise around on the trails and tow everybody back to the river.
Nice.
The Thunder Bay up there, where it's at the property, it's probably 60 foot wide.
Really?
I mean, it's a big, real river.
So you could go fishing and what? Oh, dude, we gotta go up there.
Right where the Bean Creek and the Thunder Bay meet is just fish heaven.
Yeah.
You could be out there just fly fishing all day.
Dude, we gotta
And
go.
then there's a good little spot where you could set up tents and stuff and literally stay right there.
Oh, we
on
gotta
the
go.
river.
I'm gonna have to schedule a week or something off of work, and
Yep.
we're gonna have to go.
100%. And the stars up there, it is its own dark sky park.
Oh yeah.
You
Well, I
are-
remember when we went up to Atlanta.
It's just like that.
It's just like that.
Just
Dude,
like that.
You can pretty much perfectly see the Milky Way on
Just
a clear
watch
night.
it rotate over your
Yep,
head all
it's
night.
crazy, dude. I mean,
I
where
didn't know
live,
that was possible outside of being in the high desert.
right.
You know what I mean?
Right. We're out here. You get a pretty good view of the sky, but you don't see the Milky Way.
No.
You know what I mean?
You still somehow get light pollution from Port Huron and
Right.
Imlay and all that
Right.
stuff. So
So yeah, but it was probably the first time in my life that I ever saw that when we went up there. You know, that because the only times I've ever been out of Michigan was I went down to Florida and I went to Canada.
And in
you know what I
Michigan,
mean?
how often does the weather even cooperate?
Oh, exactly,
Either it's a
exactly.
full moon and you got no clouds, or you got clouds and on a new moon, or however it ends up working out, you're screwed as a
Right.
stargazer in Michigan.
I will say this though, and this isn't to brag about my own home, but
I bet you it's awesome out here.
on a clear night when the moon is full, the way my house and property are set up, the moon rises directly over the middle of my property. So you get this full, huge moon, and by the time it's perfectly dark out and it's just that moon, my whole entire property glows, dude. It's so cool.
I was just going to pull up a picture while you were talking of that knife I made so you can actually see what I'm talking about when I say it. Because
Okay.
I realize it's probably not exactly clear. But yeah, it was such a cool process, and just being able to, I know it's kind of dorky. I know it's very dorky, knife dorks know they're dorks.
I don't think so, though. Maybe that means I'm a dork, but I don't think so at all.
And
I
it's
think
not even that it's a knife dork thing. I'm just into craftsmanship,
Right.
of any sort.
right.
Like,
It's a form of art. It's an art form.
it
You-
absolutely is.
You may not be a pencil and paper artist, but if you're, dude, are you kidding me? Making a knife? Oh, wow. Dude. Again,
That thing's gorgeous.
don't let me forget to show you before you leave my dad's buck knife.
Yeah.
But this is pretty much my dad's buck knife.
Yep. Just on steroids a little bit.
I don't know. My dad's buck knife might actually be bigger. Because how big is that knife?
That is about 14 inches overall. I think it's like just shy of 8-inch blade length. It's a big knife.
It might be the same size.
It's
then.
roughly the same size as this.
Okay. Yeah, because my dad's buck knife is about that same
Okay.
size. So, but if you could ever make me like a Dead Nuts copy
Oh yeah.
of that buck knife, oh
Yeah.
my God.
A better
love that
version
knife.
probably.
Probably
Or
because
not even better, just a more modern.
yeah, that knife was made back in like the 70s or 80s.
Yeah, and it's probably like Buck was always famous for their impeccable heat treat.
Right.
Like it might not be the fanciest steel, but it's done perfect. Mm-hmm. To the point where it might outperform other better steels. Like that was always the draw of them. It's just simple, done right.
Dude, we've nerded out about steels and metal for about an hour.
That's how it goes. I mean, I don't ever get to talk about it with anybody because nobody ever knows what the hell I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
I'm probably your only friend that
Yeah.
knows what you're talking
Dave's
about.
into it a little bit now, but still,
You know, that is one thing that, again, my job's not my favorite thing in the world, but that is one thing I appreciate about my job, is that I learned a lot about all that type of stuff. And I would have never learned any of that any other way.
And I was so thankful for that experience, you know, when I was working with you and stuff like that while I was up there. Because I was just able to jump right in. You know? There was no hesitation around grinders or mills or anything like that.
Yeah, you already had and that's a big thing, is being comfortable.
With that knife is I got everything almost built with Jim Stewart, the owner's son, the guy who designed this, like my hero maker, essentially. Like he's our age, but the man is already a master knife smith, designer, you know, just he pretty much runs their operations nowadays. So that was just a pure pleasure getting to work right alongside with him through that whole process. But somebody knocked it off the table and blew the whole handle apart. So I had to start from scratch. And like I said, I had shown up a day early. So I got all of that personal time with him that first day because I was early. And it was like kind of a special situation. That would have never happened on the normal grinding schedule. Now we're into the normal grinding schedule, and I'm starting pretty much from scratch again. So,
and it wasn't your fault either.
No.
That's.
But it was kind of serendipitous because now it's handle the business mode. Either you pick an easier one or you figure this out on your own, because Jim has literally 100 people to deal with. And so it was a bit of a baptism by fire. And, you know, I ran into issues. I ended up having to put spacers on it because here and there, whatever. I ran into a bunch of hurdles, made it past them, got it done, and it makes that knife so much more special to me because I truly did that one pretty much myself. Outside of like the real final touch grind in, that one's all me.
And that's this knife here?
No, that was the first one I made. That's that fighting one.
Okay.
That's the second knife I made. So I was already in the groove.
You already had it, yup.
And that one was a way simpler style with that full tang. I was able to just sandwich those pieces and get busy. The first one took me a day and a half. That one took me 8 hours.
You did a beautiful job. Like I said, this knife is just beautiful. So I am impressed, man, and I really think I think you should pursue it because I think you got something.
I think I have to. I mean, just like after that comment, you know, we've been dorking out on it for an hour. Obviously, I'm passionate about it. So
I can hear it in your voice.
Probably do something with it. It's been a minute since I've been passionate about something, you know.
I think you should, man. This is there is craftsmanship in this.
Yeah.
This is a beautiful knife.
And that's where I'm at. Even like I made this leather wallet the other day and like had a ball with it because it was just crafting something from just, you know, I had some thread and a punch and, you know, I found a pattern online and
I like it.
Yeah, it's simple, but you know, I just fucking made it. It feels so good to just make something.
Yeah, man.
Just
I
do
agree.
something.
I agree. Just do something. Make something with your hands.
And I have to with this whole, you know, to get off this topic and kind of, you know, segue into another. With this pandemic, it's so hard for everybody to be motivated about anything right now. I feel like everybody just has trauma fatigue.
Yep.
Like,
you want a shot of this wild turkey?
Yes, please. We've just been bouncing around for the last 2 years, accumulating trauma from every surface we touch. You know, it's just whether it be our own or stuff our friends and loved ones are going through. You know, if you're an empathetic person, you know, it's almost worse to watch a close friend go through, you know, a serious loss or something like that than it is for you. Because, you know, with you can just, at least for me, I can compartmentalize it and, you know, use my Northern Europeanness to just smash that shit way down deep and repress it.
And cheers to that, my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly,
Slanche.
I kind of feel... No, I don't feel like an asshole for saying this at all.
No.
But I've been lucky. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not just with my health. Thank God for that. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
But I've been able to work.
I was concerned as fuck for you with your, you know.
Right.
You know.
That That is what makes me want to get the vaccine, because it's probably a good idea having the underlying pulmonary issue,
Yeah.
you know, but it's a matter of principle, but also it's a matter of, from what I've heard, I don't know if I trust everything yet. You know, it's a pharmaceutical. This stuff has to take time to be developed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a whole chase the money scenario going on in my head with it, with the mandates and everything like that. It seems like
even before the mandate,
it doesn't seem like it's going with science. It seems like it's trending towards, let's just force as many people to take this and as many boosters as we can get them to take as soon as possible.
I think we did. Me and my buddy Eric talked about this on last night's podcast. I think, in my opinion, when it comes to the mandate and stuff like that, I think they want to look like heroes.
Optics.
So exactly. They want to look
Optics
like
and money.
heroes so bad they don't care how they go about doing it. You know, because it's pretty obvious that they're not very popular.
No.
You know what I mean? And
now you have Republicans coming at them with their own base. You know, you have Republicans coming out with federal legalizing of marijuana bills, and what was it?
The Republicans are finally getting smart. This is how you play the game.
Republicans are talking about universal basic income and insurance stuff, which I don't necessarily agree with. I don't know where I'm at with that stuff, but just to hear it coming from that side of the aisle, the Democrats don't even know how boned they are. Like, they're about to get blown up by their own base. Because it seems like the parties are flipping. Like, it seems like the Republicans are chasing that working class vote. And the Democrats are saying they are, but just capitulating to any corporate sponsor, donor that comes their way. It's really bizarre. And it won't be the first time that they have flipped. So I guess, I mean, progress is never linear, I guess. You know,
No.
Things change. I guess we shouldn't be surprised that they're changing.
My biggest concern is just stability. You know,
there's none of that right now.
Right. If we can at least stabilize everything, then we'd be able to weather the storm of all the ridiculousness a little bit better, but we need to stabilize everything.
Yeah, and I feel like the general inclination to micro-fracture our society seems to be waning a little bit right now. Or the veil, it became so blatant that the veil was pulled back enough that people at least see it now. Because I saw it with the Rittenhouse thing amongst, you know, my more blue friends on the Book of Faces.
The Book of Faces.
You know, it really floored me. I'm politically homeless, as I like to consider it. I think
that's where I'm at now too. I have very libertarian values, but at the same time, I'm pretty much homeless. Like,
there's bits in every camp that I'm about, and there's bits that I really dislike about just about everything.
Right.
Call me a political curmudgeon. I don't know, whatever.
That's why I identify as a cynic.
Yeah.
I just tell people I'm a cynic.
Yeah. Oh, where was I at with that? Shoot. Oh, yeah, but I was watching people talking about the Rittenhouse trial and how they were duped by their own media. We were duped. We bit in hook, line, and sinker. I've been following this trial, and we were absolutely duped. And I couldn't believe what I was reading.
Really?
It floored me.
Really?
Because I was also at the same time reading people just double down.
Yeah, see, that's all I've seen is the doubling down.
I've seen the other as well, which is a complete phase shift from even 3 months ago.
Now, how left are we talking?
Hardcore.
Hardcore left? Like Bernie left?
McCloskey left.
Wow.
we don't have to elaborate on that name, but he knows what I'm referring to.
Really?
That in that camp.
What was his take on it?
He's still steadfast. I'm just
he's doubled down.
Camp.
Okay, so but his line of thinking.
In his immediate circle.
Okay.
They were questioning amongst each other, which is where I was seeing it.
Yep.
And because they're all in the same camp, they were able to have an adult digression about it. And I just stayed back and observed, and I was just like, holy shit. No way. They said the quiet part out loud.
Wow. See, I really do think there is some kind of cultural shift happening.
100%.
I really do.
And it has to.
It has to. If it doesn't, this country dies.
Mm-hmm.
This country dies. Mm-hmm. You know, but I although I identify as a cynic, again, a
hopeful cynic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, I think the shift is happening, and I think while it's going to be turbulent, the end result will be better, I think.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to be just like how the internet kind of swept over society. I think it's going to be bits and pieces of society removing themselves from that irrationality. You know, it's not going to be a big, light switch moment.
Right.
It's
going to be a gradual thing.
Yeah. It's just like, when you start to gain weight, you don't really see it until you see like a before and after, just that slow accumulation of shit. But I am hopeful. There's a lot of people out there talking about, rational revolution and just a coming together of minds. Like, we don't have to agree about everything, but we don't have to hate each other because we don't. That's kind
of the whole thing. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to do a podcast, is like, we got to start talking to each other, man.
100%.
Now, I know for right now,
not just sniping at each other from a keyboard, like actual discussion,
sitting down and talk. And if somebody hears this, it might trigger a thought in their head.
Because here's the bottom line with everything: is none of it is binary. None of it is black and white. Everything is so much more nuanced than we want to give it credit for, because it's so easy to break something down when it's binary.
Right.
It's this or that, and if we can say that is evil, we can demonize that.
Right, exactly. And it doesn't work that way. We've got way bigger problems than what's going on inside the country.
No, and most of us, I would say, agree on most things.
I think so, yeah. I think it's a matter of... one, semantics. I think people use words that don't make sense to other people. You know what I mean? That's a bad way to describe that, but I think it's semantics, and I think it's I lost my train of thought.
And maybe this was me just thinking while you were thinking, but to me it seems like a huge part of the problem comes from a media that knows it's becoming obsolete. So it is absolutely just ramping up the over-the-top, ridiculous,
it's the death
divisive
rattle.
Yeah, it's like an animal is most dangerous when it's cornered right before it knows it's gonna die.
Yep.
It's that I feel like that's the part of the epoch we're in right now, where this dragon is just flailing around, shooting fire at everything right before it dies, and hopefully we can move on and reestablish, a national media that serves the people. That that's the whole reason we have, amendments protecting the press and freedom of speech, because it's one of the most important things to operating a successful, trustworthy democracy.
Yep.
We have no way to hold anybody accountable right now.
Yep.
To the point where we can't even trust the information, that we can't have an honest discussion because we can't agree about the truth.
Yep.
Like,
that's what gives me so much hope about internet media. You know what I mean?
Crystal and Sagar.
Did you listen to that most recent episode of Tim Pool where Alex Jones, Joe Rogan, Michael Malice, they were all on the show?
Oh, yeah.
Somebody kept saying cigar, and they no, his name is Sagar.
Yeah.
They were screaming at him.
And I pronounce it right regularly. It's just...
Right. No, I've been listening to them.
They do a really good job. And the one that surprised me, and I'm going to steal a line from Joe Rogan, is Russell Brand. How did we get to the place where a British comedian is the best journalist in America?
Right. What?
Russell Brand. Like 8 months ago, that man had no real credibility outside of just tossing beautiful word salads to me. Like, he spoke beautifully, but it was just, about spirituality and just woo-woo topics that didn't really hold a candle in my eyes. And now
he's like Julian Assange now.
the man does his work. Bar none. There's nothing else to say. He comes ready. He comes with, like I said, beautiful language. He articulates points.
He is a very eloquent speaker.
And if there's one thing you're gonna be, which I am not exemplifying here, is just be eloquent if you're gonna talk and want to be heard. Like, we have beautiful words. Use them.
Yeah, that is surprising though, especially like when you know his background. It's like, man, this is the guy from Get Him to the Greek. You know what I mean? Like, when this guy's making sense,
pet the furry wall guy, right, or whatever.
When this guy's making sense, we might have a problem.
And I shouldn't be surprised, because even a few years back, he would go on these talk shows and morning talk shows and absolutely lambast these Morning Joe hosts for just being terrible at their job. Just talking about him as if he's not there, commenting on his kinky boots instead of actual hard-hitting topics, which he can talk about at length.
Well, it's because they expect him to be an idiot.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. They expect him to be an idiot.
Everything's just so surface.
But it gives me hope. The internet gives me hope because, like you said, the dinosaur of the mainstream media is dying. And it's people, obviously right now, it's people like, Rogan and the Weinsteins and, they're kind of the new media. But the internet, especially in all the research that I've done for this show, dude, I probably shouldn't say this on air, but it is ridiculously easy to start a podcast. Like, if you're thinking about doing a podcast for any reason at all, start now.
There's entire websites dedicated to making it easy.
Exactly. It's you would think that it's this like super hard thing to get into, but if you can hook up a microphone to a computer and you know a little bit about the internet, you can start a podcast.
It's only as complex as you want to make it.
Exactly. It's just a matter of, are you interesting enough to listen to? I hope we are, but if we're not and we're just talking to each other, then that's fine too. Yeah. Because this is my second conversational podcast other than the one that I did with my wife, which was a lot of fun, and I'm glad we're doing that. But I am already at, like, I felt like when he left last night, I even told him this. I was like, dude, I feel like I know you better as a person. You know what I mean?
And that's an important thing. 15 years?
15?
Close enough to say?
Longer, because I've been out of high school for at least 15 years.
Yeah. So, as many times as we sat in that sunroom and commiserated and...
back in the days.
And just longed for, stardom and just... We've never just... I don't know that we've ever sat down and just... with the intent of talking and getting to know each other better. It just,
no, I think we have, but
I don't know that with any intent to like actually do that. It just kind of happens when it happens.
Right.
Like, I'm not a very pry guy.
No, you're not. And that's one thing that I really like about you is you don't pry, because people that pry drive me crazy. Yeah. It really bugs me.
Same. And I trust you to trust me that if you have something you really want to say, that you can trust me with it.
Right.
You'll say it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I feel that way.
I expect, all of my friends to be that way.
That's the way it should be. Mm-hmm. You can't have a real friendship or a real relationship without trust. Mm-hmm.
And I'm very forthcoming with things about myself, but yeah, I'm not going to be the one that digs into you unless you're just, reciprocating with the things that I'm, bearing about myself.
Right.
I have no shame. I don't care what you know about me. It's just, but not everybody is like that.
Right. I tell you one thing. When you said, dreaming about fame or whatever, it kind of ticked this off in my brain. I am actually really glad that our lives did not go down that road.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I'd have been fucked.
Oh, so me too.
Fuck.
I was talking to my dad about this like a week ago, and I was like, honestly, I'd probably be dead. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, okay, think about this.
Well,
like, when my lung collapsed,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? If we were on stage playing a show, I could have died.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because my dumb ass would have been like, oh, I'm fine. I'll finish the show and then whatever. You
Birdman,
know?
give me a cigarette.
Right, exactly. Which is the wrong thing to do.
I'm going to glue my lung back together.
But, you know, or for any other reason, I mean, I'd probably be dead by now. I'd be dead. Mm-hmm. Or just totally miserable.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Like, I feel like it's taken a lot of things to get me where, you know, I'm confident and comfortable with the person I've become.
Yep.
You know, took a lot of mistakes, a lot of me being an asshole, a lot of untruths and learning from telling untruths and you know, just anything and everything. You know, I've made every mistake under the sun there is to make.
That's part of the human experience,
Yeah.
though, man. That's what makes you human, is making mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as long as you ask for forgiveness, that's what matters.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? You're not just like a narcissistic asshole. Like,
No, I never did any of the things I'm ashamed of out of malice. It was always just more obliviousness,
Inexperience.
You know, just not taking others into consideration.
Right.
You know, not being a fully formed adult yet.
that's part of being a kid in your 20s.
100%.
You know what, though? I enjoyed the hell out of my 20s, man.
Fuck yeah, I'm still having a great time, but yeah, we had a fucking great time.
I'm glad we got lucky. Again, we were very lucky because there was numerous times we never had any scares, you know, but
Nothing serious.
right, exactly. But I'm glad we were lucky enough to where we waited until we were stable to have a kid.
Oh,
because if I
100%.
tried to have a kid when I was in my mid 20s, I'd have been a terrible parent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just wasn't ready. But
Yeah, I've been proud as hell of the way things are going with that for you guys. It's been cool as hell just seeing the updates online and stuff. Like I said, or like we've framed, it's been a couple of years since we've actually seen each other.
Right.
So
it's weird, dude. Not in a bad way, but you know, before she got pregnant, we actually kind of fought about it a couple of times because like I
not to be candid, but I remember you being like super into the idea and then super
not into
the idea.
I went
pretty
back
consecutively. Yeah,
I went back and forth on it because I like kids, but was a little bit more selfish.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? And
all of us were. But I think that was an adult thing that we recognized.
Right.
That fact.
But having a kid, I'm glad we did it,
Mhm.
and
I'm glad you did it too.
it changes you, man. It's crazy.
Big time.
It's
And that's how selfish I am, is that I don't know that I want that change.
and you know what though, I can respect that decision. I really can, because if you don't want to have a kid, don't have a kid,
No.
because it's a massive commitment.
That's where it's at. Like I've never had that pull, and I'm not saying this about you at all. Don't misconstrue this, but there's those that just have that ego of, I want a carbon copy of myself that I can just carry around and dress up.
Yeah,
cool
no, I
and
don't want that.
Just have a little arm ornament instead of a small dog.
Right.
You know, like I've never had that impulse that I need more of me in this world. Like the world needs more of me.
I think that's an ego in check.
Yeah, like they definitely don't need any more of me. But I think it's imperative for those of us with our mindset to, you know, pass on some of this to a direct offspring.
I agree. Because if you let the stupid people outbreed the smart people,
We've all seen the movie.
yeah. I mean, we're kind of living in it right now. So,
Yeah, it's scary.
but that kid is so cool,
Yeah.
and he's only 15 months old.
I mean, how can he not be? He's got cool parents, so.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But it's so funny, some of the shit this kid does, man. We'll be eating dinner. This is one of my favorite things. This kid's such a little savage. we'll be eating dinner, and he gets a plate of food. And we got so lucky. This kid will eat anything you put in front of him.
There you go.
You know what
Lucky.
I mean? Yeah, we got super lucky. This kid eats everything.
I was such a picky little son of a bitch.
And he is stout because he's not fat. Like he's got baby fat.
Solid.
Yeah,
Built
but
like me.
he's healthy. He's a stout little boy.
Little wrecking ball.
Exactly. Like you pick him up,
You're dense, kid.
yeah, you pick him. He's like 20 pounds, but it's like, oh my God, boy.
Yep.
But we'll be sitting at dinner and he gets a little plate of food, and then he gets a bottle of milk. He'll pound this bottle of milk down like it's like he's chugging a beer.
Yep.
And then when he finishes it, he'll stop and he'll look at the bottle, realize it's empty, and then he just like whips it at the floor. It's hilarious. And then this part drives me nuts because my dogs are going to end up getting fat. But when he decides he's done eating, he just takes his plate and throws it across the room. And there go the dogs after the plate. And they're like little Hoover vacuums.
Oh, yeah.
And there's nothing left. But that, and I'm sure somebody listening, anybody who doesn't like it will find this controversial. But we give him, he still uses a pacifier.
Uh-huh.
So those are like his calling card.
Oh, yeah.
We find those things everywhere. I found I don't know how the hell this thing got there. I found a pacifier at the end of my driveway. Like, what the hell did this kid do? Open the window and throw it out?
Set it on the back of your bumper.
I mean, maybe one of the dogs picked it up or something,
Right.
but I found a pacifier one time sitting inside of a flower pot. It's like, how did you get this here?
Man, I can only, my only analog for that is the stories I heard about myself. And I went straight from not being able to move to bear crawling, like skipped crawling, like just on all fours, just running.
Yeah.
My dad was cleaning the boat in the side yard one day, just cleaning it, sees me 1 minute, the next minute I'm just gone. I made it all the way to the back of my neighborhood by the time they could find me. Like, it's just...
Yeah, that's kind of one thing that worries me about having that creek running through the yard.
Yeah.
Is that thing's like 20 feet deep.
Yeah.
And if we're outside one day and we're not paying attention, it'd be very easy for him to fall into that thing. I'm thinking about finding a way to put up a fence as cheaply as I can.
You can just do snow fence for now.
Could. At least until he's old enough to,
teach him to swim eventually.
Right.
But yeah.
But yeah, because...
And I think it's like, like firearm safety and all of these things, with us country kids, like just expose your kids to the dangers and be truthful with how dangerous they can be. Don't sugarcoat things. And you hope the kid is as smart as you were when you were,
I hope so.
Young one. Like you didn't disrespect things that were framed properly to you.
Right.
At least I never did. If something was clearly outlined that this is dangerous and this is why, I understood it.
Right.
Like, even at a young age.
That's how I was too. Plus I was afraid my dad would kill me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I say this about my dad all the time, and I don't mean it in a negative way whatsoever, but I'm pretty sure even on my dad's deathbed, he'll be able to kick my ass. You know what I mean? So...
he's a hard old farm boy,
That's my old man. He's a hard old farm boy, But
he's softened up a lot in the last
10
years, though.
Oh yeah. So, but speaking of that creek, a beaver built a dam in the creek.
Hell yeah.
I wish it was light outside. I'd take you out there and show you. But when
Yeah.
you walk past, it's right. I'm going to have to either get the DNR out here to take it down because it's going to end up clogging up that
Flooding
culvert.
everything out.
Yeah, and it'll flood everything out. But it's right, like you walk across that land bridge that I have.
Yeah.
And it's like right off to the side of the land bridge. So it's kind of neat. You're walking through the land bridge and you hear this like nice waterfall, as you're walking through. But yeah, it was crazy. I was out there. It was like a month ago. I was cleaning up the yard, for fall. Mm-hmm. And I hear this waterfall and I'm like, where the hell is that? What is that?
Yep.
So I'm looking around and I walk over and all of a sudden I see this beaver dam. And I'm like, what the hell is that thing? You know what I mean? Josh saw the beaver. I haven't seen it.
It's crazy.
Shout out to J. Lou, saw the beaver.
Oh, poor Jason still hasn't seen one yet.
Yeah. I have a kid, but somehow I haven't seen the beaver yet. Anyway,
Mormon style.
Josh was out hunting. I think I was at work. Because if I'm at work and he wants to go, I'll just, same thing with my brother-in-law. If he wants to go out, just, go ahead and go out hunting. I don't care. Just tell me if you get something. But he was out hunting and he texted me and he goes, you either got like a mass, like the world's biggest groundhog running around, or you've got a beaver running around.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I saw something and I'm pretty sure it was a beaver. And it was like, maybe a week after that I'm sitting there thinking about it and I put 2 and 2 together. I don't know why it took me that long to put 2 and 2 together, but I'm sitting there thinking about it. I'm going, oh no shit. Yeah. He probably did see a beaver.
Yep.
Out
at the watershed preserve where I go hiking, they got just a massive beaver dam where it's to the point where you can walk right across it.
Really?
Yeah. I think that's part of why that lake is there.
Wow.
It's probably a 15-acre lake.
It is starting to flood my property out. There's a low spot, which on the one hand, it doesn't bother me though, because it's swamping out an area that I can't access anyway.
Yeah.
Because it's just so thick, I can't get in there. But that's a really nice habitat improvement. But if it gets any more, it'll start flooding out areas that I want to access, and I don't want that to happen.
And the farmers around here will start having issues with irrigation.
Yeah, it is getting to a point where, like, I think he's got like another 4 or 5 feet. If it rises up any higher than that, it'll flood his hayfield out. But oh, God damn it. I forgot where I was going with that, too.
The beaver?
Yeah.
I don't know.
We sound like idiots tonight.
Where were we going with that? Tonight, I'm pretty sure this is how our conversations always go.
Yeah, they always go this way.
Digression on top of digression.
But I don't know. Anyway,
always...
so I got this beaver at my house and it needs to be killed, but I don't want to kill it, basically. Yeah. Oh, I know where I was going. Another reason I'm going to have to move that is because the dam is like right behind my chicken coop.
Oh, yeah.
And once I get birds in there, which I wanted to have birds, this summer, but I couldn't get any time off of work. I still got to build the pen.
Yeah.
And all summer long, it's been 65, 70 hours a week.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Which, again, I shouldn't bitch about because we're in like the worst economy since 2008.
Yeah.
And I'm working crazy hours. So I'm grateful for that. But it's like, I got to get shit
I'm pretty
done.
proud of the Michigan industrial sector for its pivot they did in 2008.
Oh, they were smart. Yep. That was a smart move.
I mean, there was a lot of companies that were really on the rocks that really came back in a big way.
See, the thing though, because I'm in automotive again.
Yeah.
So the thing with us is.
So did they split up aerospace and automotive, or?
Yeah, I don't want to dive too much into it, but yeah, basically each sector of the company, like hard machining and automotive and all that, each sector of the company is in its own build. It's a massive complex now. It's a massive complex.
Not to reveal too much, how much of that industrial complex do they have now? Because it was 3/4 of it 10 years ago.
It's the same.
Yeah.
The same. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just.
They had 4 buildings?
Yeah.
Like
Yep. But the thing with us is that all the automotive companies are competing in the electric market now.
Yep.
So they need all new tooling for all those electric vehicles that they're going to build. So it's the big push right now to get all the tooling out for all the electrical vehicles. And, I think that's great, actually. I have mixed feelings about the practicality of electric vehicles, and charging those batteries requires more fossil fuels than.
We're gonna have to go nuclear.
That's a whole nother conversation for another day. I don't even know where to start with that, but I think we should do. It's
the natural progression of things. If you look at the progression of motor technology and battery technology and the power tools that we use, or like the RC cars and things like that, when the battery technology increased and the motor technology, like they went from brush to brushless motors, once that flip happened, those old gas cars went out the window. They were garbage. the amount of performance you can get out of those electric motors is just unbeatable.
Right.
It's stupid. And I'm the biggest petrol head that out of any of our group, I'd have to say. Like, I live and breathe cars.
Yeah, when it comes to cars, honestly, I know this is like a hit on my man card, but I don't care about cars at all.
Most of our friend group doesn't, outside of, is that one cool, or do I like that color? Or,
Right,
you know, like,
exactly.
that's about it. But I love everything about the internal combustion engine. It is just such an awesome development in the arc of humans, progress.
Right.
But it's just inevitable before
See,
EV takes off. It's just so much more efficient, so much more pleasant.
my biggest concern with electronics, and granted, I am very ignorant on the subject. I'm only going based off of a very basic understanding of all of this. But if our entire society goes electric, dude, my understanding, like one real solar flare, and we are back in the 1800s, like immediately.
That's already the case with, our grid, and how all of everything is automated and digitized. When it comes to gas utilities, everything's controlled by a computer. Our trucking and logistics, everything comes to a screeching halt. There's
I
still going to be
understand
plenty
that.
of guys like me that has a 30-year-old van in the driveway for just such an occasion.
And I guess that sentiment right there gives me hope.
Yeah.
But
And there's a huge push for that right now. Like, the secondary old vehicle market
is huge. It's
I'm
outrageous.
seeing old mid-90s pickup trucks for $25,000.
Yeah,
right now.
it's outrageous, dude. But if we ever got to a point where there was no more internal combustion engine, you couldn't find one, and something like that like, I think basically what I'm getting at is that I think the idea of getting rid of the internal combustion engine completely is short-sighted.
I don't think that's anybody's. I think that's a foolhardy goal if that's what you're going for. I'd say you'd alleviate, it'd be more for hobby. You know what I mean? They're still going to exist. You got fucking mad lads on the internet making miniaturized 1/32 models from scratch on a home lathe and shit like that. I don't think that will ever go away, but I do think logistics wise, like they're talking about these automated trucks, where they have, instead of like it being an actual, 17 trailer train, they just, because of autonomous driving, stack, 17 individual trucks up. So they're
Right.
using, slipstream to save gas. They're using hive mind to sense everything that's around. It's just, it's inevitable at this point. Like,
We're going to have to update our electrical grid, though. Something has to
we
happen.
have one of the worst in the world.
It's
I know
hilariously
that from
bad.
when we were, when I was servicing and installing NC mills and stuff like
Yep.
that. Everything that came from overseas, particularly Germany and Japan,
That's right.
would have to get, these transformers to clean up the power going into them because our grid is just so, they called it dirty. It's just
Well,
not
yeah, it's
super
just-
stable. It's not, all these machines from overseas are running on nice, modernized, clean grids. You know.
Right. We're using this patchwork quilt.
Yeah, like we are literally just slapping Band-Aids on hand grenade wounds, like for the last 80 years.
Right. It's ridiculous. And we're a society that wants to go electric, and we have this joke of an electrical grid. Like, how do you guys, and
We're going to be coming up on a bottleneck where all of this meets a point where either the ducats are shelled out and we actually get to work on some of this stuff that's holding everything up, or it's going to fail.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we want, I think it's going to be a net benefit to just stop burning up all of these non-renewable resources and stuff like
Yeah.
that. It just, even for the sole fact of not burning through them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Just to have them in
Just-
case we need them.
Yeah, because I mean, even if we're not using them to get to work and back, we still use them in almost every product in our home. You know, if you're an audiophile, you got your vinyl records. I mean, that's just a whole pile of petroleum products right there, from the cellophane to the ink to the actual pressing. You know, it's in everything.
Right. Well, yeah, petroleum jelly.
Yeah, like literally everything. The soles of your shoes, you
plastics,
know, your clothes, the plastics, everything. And, you know,
plastics is one thing. I get the convenience of it. This is a little bit more of my hippie tree loving side coming out.
I think we're getting away from them, though, as a society, which I like.
If we're not going to go with biodegradable plastics, which I don't fully understand that technology anyway, so I'm not going to comment any further on that. But if we don't go with biodegradable,
science?
then I think we need to go back to glass and paper.
Yeah,
you know,
and that's
I mean?
where I'm going with a lot of the stuff that I own. I don't have a lot of disposable things anymore. I use a Zippo. I don't have any Bics. I haven't lost a lighter in 2 years since I got a Zippo. I use a pen that I refill. I don't use disposable pens. I've had that pen for 8 months since I bought it. You know, I made my own leather wallet. You know,
right.
I'm a glass, leather, wood guy. Like those are the only materials I want touching me or I'm using or anything like that. It's a
better way to live, man.
It is. I enjoy it. You know, synthetics have their place and stuff like that. You know, it's hard to beat synthetics for like waterproofing, Gore-Tex, things like that.
Sure.
They absolutely have their place. But I think we need to
slow down on the general use of plastic.
Just the disposableness of our society, like everything, just the one-use society. It's just, we got to get away from that.
Yeah, we got to get back to, like, it's cheaper to fix it than to buy a new one.
And start taking some cues even from some of these developing countries that, you know, didn't have the manufacturing prowess to be able to package everything in cellophane and make it last forever. They're wrapping it in, you know, banana leaves or, you know, whatever the product grew in, they're using it as a part of the packaging and it works. And, you know, I think another thing is we need to divest ourselves from these big box chain suppliers and really get ourselves back to farmers markets.
I agree with that.
Your local small grocers, you know, stuff like that, where they're buying from the local community and selling it in one, you know, whatever we can do to.
That's one thing I want to do. That's when I fully get the hobby farm going.
Yeah.
Is I want to set up whether I set up a stand at the end of the driveway or I go find.
Or collaborate with somebody like our friend with, you know, Mama Bean and stuff. You know,
actually, I want to get her on the podcast and see if I can talk to her about that stuff.
100%. She would be a great.
Yes, she would.
To pick.
She would.
She's one of my favorite humans.
I want to. Eventually, one of my goals is to set up a small farmer's market, just because, honestly, for one, I'm a capitalist and I'm not ashamed to admit it. Yeah. But we grow
a responsible capitalist, though. At least caveat.
Yeah, I refer to myself as an ethical capitalist. You know what I mean? Because I'm very against unethical capitalism.
Yes, and before you get snarky out there, we're aware of the paradox.
Yes. Absolutely. That being said, we usually have so much abundance in what we grow that we just give it away.
You can't help, especially tomatoes. Like, everybody always thinks they're, you know, gonna have trouble with their tomato crop or something.
Our tomato crop this year was the biggest tomato crop I've ever personally seen. I think I know I picked 2 bags that were 250 count. 200, that's 500 tomatoes.
Yeah.
What the hell am I going to do with 500 tomatoes?
Right. It's not like you have a cannery, you know.
I mean, don't get me wrong. We can them. You know, we canned as much as we could.
But you're not an industrial level salsa factory.
And we have a child to take care of. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I don't get me wrong, I have no problem giving them away. I gave them away to my family. I gave them away to friends.
But how many can you give away?
Exactly. Yeah. She took, like, seriously, she probably took 100 tomatoes to work. And the girls that she works with were like living off of my tomatoes all summer long.
Not to interrupt, but you can even work out like something with her where, you know, she's got all these heirloom seed strains and stuff like that for these vegetables where, you know, maybe you can grow some of those here in exchange for her selling them down, you know, like some sort of labor trade kind of thing.
I'd be willing to work that out because for one, I shouldn't say this on air, but I have got amazing soil.
How can you not out here?
You know what I mean?
It's the Mucklands.
Exactly. It's all farm soil. So I've got amazing soil. Plus again, this is kind of my hippie side coming out, but I try to be as organic and natural as possible. I don't use pesticides. Yeah. You know what I mean? My garden's caged in. I don't use any repellents.
And if you work with nature, and nature provides solutions to a lot of it, you know, neem oil is kind of like the multi-tool of the garden world.
Right.
You know,
Now, I've been really seriously at it for about 3 years. I've got a never-ending compost pile. So basically, when I need fertilizer or compost for something, I just go fill up a 5-gallon bucket.
Yep.
And I have an unending supply of compost.
Well, let me know if you ever need some lye to help break, you know, something down if it's starting to get a little tall on you.
That's another reason why I want chickens, because chicken shit is so acidic, you know, that it'll help break all that down.
Yep.
And plus, you don't want to use straight chicken shit because again,
your pH.
Yeah, it's so acidic that you'll mess up the soil.
You get nitrogen burn, stuff like
right.
that. Yeah.
But even still, you know, if I could work something out where I'm making a little bit of profit, because there was a pumpkin shortage this year, not at my house. I think I counted like 30 or 35 pumpkins at final harvest.
That's too funny. Insane. We had our little apartment complex pumpkin patches. The squirrels must have stashed seeds from last year. We had 3 or 4 spots where we had squash coming up, gourds, and one little pumpkin vine coming up. Yeah, it was wild. Just in the front yard, just middle of the yard.
You just let them grow?
Yeah.
Why not? Why not? You know what? I'm a lunatic about my yard. You know what? I am your classic white dad.
I weed whapped, you know, right around them to keep it clean looking. Right.
But at the same time, I also like the idea of, you know, instead of growing a big grass yard, grow a huge garden. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Just grow a garden.
Yep. And I understand the idea of like a yard back in the day when you had to worry about the pests and the creatures getting close to your house and raiding your chickens and stuff like that. But we have mass-produced fencing and, you know, things like that. Like, you can make a freaking food forest in your yard.
And even in, you know, because, there's people that live in cities that either don't have a yard or have a really tiny yard. But even if you can use like a 10-foot strip of your yard.
I feel like there's a huge switch back to that kind of...
There should be.
Living, because everybody saw firsthand just how fragile everything is and continues to be as ships are still stacking up outside of ports and they can't get drivers and they can't get dock workers and you know, it's...
I got lucky on that count because, again, my dad's a farm boy, so I grew up doing all that shit, you know, so I already knew going in, but it's not that hard either. Seriously, I'm not an expert at this shit. No. I just take the plant or the seed and put it in the dirt and then keep the weeds away from it and it grows.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it, man. I mean, again, I'm blessed. I have good soil. So you got to have good soil, but it's seriously, that's all I do. Again, I don't use pesticides. You know, I try and keep the weeds away. I try and keep the plants pruned. And I have outrageous yields.
Death begets death. Get all that dead stuff off of there as soon as you see it.
Yep. Yeah, and it's practical, you know.
It's enjoyable. I feel like it's
another
grounding.
Thing. I like,
not to use hippie woo woo.
Right.
Like, I'm not talking about like burying your toes in the earth for magnets and stuff. You know, like whatever. But it just kind of re-solidifies that bond we all have with the earth. Like, you know,
one of my favorite things to do in the summertime is you know how you get those really hot days where at like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, it's still like 90 degrees.
Yeah, it gets the fog rolling in.
Right.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite days to go out right about that time and just go sit down in the ground in the garden and just pull weeds.
Yep.
It's dead quiet out there. You know, it's hot, so you're not really like pushing it. You're just kind of chilling out.
Got a chorus of crickets.
Right.
Yeah.
and it's a really nice way to just wind down at the end of the day. You know?
That's the tough part about where I'm at. Like I would never voluntarily live where I live if it didn't come with free with my job.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
you have your other than the fact that you're living in an apartment, like if you had a house in that situation, but your situation is like every person in the world's wet dream.
It's I mean, at least every working class person.
Right.
You know, it's definitely not a sexy position, but
to not have to pay for your housing because you live at your job. I mean, I don't want to live at my job, but
right. And luckily, you know, the owners, the tenants, everything we've created, established clear boundaries. You know, nobody ever comes up to me and asks me to do shit when I'm off. You know, we have a well-established work order system where there's one number you call when you have something to do, unless you're on fire or underwater. Then there's another number.
Right.
You're never just going up to somebody and asking them, hey, do this. And you know, on the off chance that I do, the first thing I say is, listen, I want to help you. I'm going to help you, but it's me, one other person, and 200 units.
Right.
I'm never going to remember this. As soon as I walk away,
and you can't be expected
I have so many things while I'm there that I'm focused on because it's time management there. Like, that is the name of the game. It's not what you know how to do, it's what you have time to do.
Right.
So if you need a contractor in there because you got to focus on this, this, and this, you better get on it and suck down that pride of, oh, I can do that, or what, you know. Yeah, he can, cool, whatever, but we don't have time for you to do it.
You're almost triaging your work.
A lot of times it's very feast or famine. You know, you can really get into the weeds quick. Luckily, I have a close friend of ours working with me, and, you know, that can be a sticky situation sometimes unless you work well together. And I mean, you've worked with me. When I'm on the site, it's fucking handle the business.
You better, and that's how I am.
And it's
with
respectful.
Work.
Like, I'm not mean about it, but it's like, I'm not going to sugarcoat every little thing. You know, take the extra 3 seconds for a please and thank you on every little thing.
Right.
We got to do this, this, and this. This is the order. If you have any better ideas, speak now or shut the fuck up and let's go to work. You know,
somebody's got to take charge.
You
can't just have people just wandering around. Dude.
Yeah, and that's like the worst thing you can do in a position like mine is get comfortable. Like, you got to keep yourself on your toes, otherwise you're just, you know, you get into a routine. Your routine is like, oh, I got this much time to do this before a move in. You're banking on that, and then your cleaner snaps a water line the day before move in.
Right.
You know, and you're fucked. You're in it. I've never had to push back a move in date since I started there, and I take pride in that. Like, we get our shit done.
That's a good thing, man.
So maybe that's undue pressure I've put on myself at this point, because that wasn't the case before I started there, but I'd like to maintain that, you know. I don't know that it really matters to anybody else but me, but it matters to me.
You know, and that no. That's what's important though, is you see you've set a goal for yourself and you're reaching it.
Yep.
And I think that's something that a lot of people lack.
I'm redeveloping that. I was really good about it, you know, without anybody, you know, out there knowing my backstory. I grew up playing highly competitive soccer.
Very competitive
and
soccer.
It was always a goal I set for myself. My mom, you know, supported me 100% through it, but she wasn't ever the type to force me. You're doing this, you know. She wasn't living through me by any means. It wasn't one of those. So it was always a goal I set for myself. 1,000 touches on the ball a day. Go out in the side yard and chip the ball into a chair across the yard from 20 yards away. You know, you got to get it, you know, 40 times in a row before you're done. You know, hit the chair 40 times in a row before you can go inside and go play games or whatever. So I feel like I had a lot of discipline way earlier than I had any business having that kind of discipline. And then I fucked it all up in college, just partying, you know, just I was truly free for the first time, and I let it get the best of me.
Yep.
And I kind of rocked that for the next going on 10 years of just not really having a lot of discipline, just being very mentally weak and giving in to, I was very impulsive.
I was the same way.
Very, very impulsive. A stark juxtaposition to how I was, the previous 10 years.
Right. I feel like I didn't really grow up until probably about the time we got engaged.
Yep.
It was like once that happened, it was like, all right, it's time to man up now and stop fucking around.
I feel like even it was until the last few years for me even. Like, I feel like I had parts of me I was figuring out, but there were still a ton of parts where I was resistive. Like, I was holding on to that part of me because I don't know if I was worried I wasn't going to have fun without it or what, but because some of I'll give myself this. A lot of the most fun memories I have are from that impulsive side of it.
Oh, absolutely, dude. We did some wild and crazy shit.
Dude, I'm sure as we have more episodes together,
the truth will come out. It's out there.
We'll see what y'all are ready for first.
But no, it's funny, actually. I attribute this. I attribute to my personal growth a lot to podcasts.
Same.
And oddly enough, when I met Chasten, because he was such a different kind of person.
He was, right out of the military, so that impulsivity, I feel like, in those military guys is
kind of broken out of him.
Yeah, and it has to be.
But just the way he viewed things, it kind of rattled my world a little bit. Like he was an adult and we were idiots.
Like, he was ready to be a man and we were guys.
Right, we were dudes.
We weren't boys.
We were dudes.
We're just some guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
But like once I became friends with him and started becoming interested in the things that he was in, because he would talk about them, it opened up my world to a whole different line of thinking. And it's one of the things I really appreciate about his friendship is that I've learned a lot from that dude.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? But I really attribute it to podcasts. Again, going back to the media thing, that's why I think, the future of not only I think the economy, but like the future of the world is the internet. Mm-hmm. So all this stuff being out there, like you were saying, I think, were we on air when we said that about listening to the smartest minds in the world talk?
I don't know if we were.
I think we were talking about that before the podcast. But
it's a huge advantage to just be able to, for free, listen to the most smart or interesting or controversial minds in the world expound on just whatever the hell at length.
Because if I wouldn't have gone down that road, I don't necessarily think I'd be a hardcore leftist, but I'd probably be like a CNN watching idiot. Well, maybe not to anybody that watches CNN. I apologize. I don't mean that. But most of the way, I don't mean that. But I probably wouldn't actually be a CNN watcher because my dad is pretty conservative and I was raised in a conservative household. Yep. So I have that background, but I think the ideas of socialism would appeal a little bit more had I not gone down the road of, how do I label this without sounding like a fucking
beat that old
ridiculous
trope. It's like if you're not a Democrat when you're young, you don't have a heart, and if you're not a Republican when you're old, you don't have a brain. Right, kind of thing. Like,
exactly. You become more conservative the older you get.
And it's still on topic, but I feel like it was always due to happen. I feel like it's intellectually lazy to expect to get consistently reliable information day in, day out from one source.
Right. Like you're either a Fox News watcher or an MSNBC watcher.
Going on just from one place, one point of view. It's just, people used to read multiple newspapers. People used to read multiple publications, books, digests, and then, radio programs. I feel like they consumed multiple sources of information and were a little bit more adept at coming up with their own conclusion. And then,
Right.
you know, the major networks happened, and then I forget what act it was or what loophole they exploited where they could start advertising on taxpayer paid networks, which
Like
is
PBS?
which is still effed in my brain. You know, like, we're already paying for you to be able to use this thing, and now you're advertising and making money on top of that. That's,
Right.
It,
Doesn't seem...
yeah.
Well, let's break topic. I want to try something, and we're gonna have to be kind of quiet about it.
Do one
But you wanna? How's your singing voice?
who knows?
All right,
Probably not great. It's been a while.
let's see here. I want to see. Oof, that sounds nice.
Ooh,
Do you
Hang
remember
on.
the words to this one?
that's why I heard the chord, and I was just like, let me think through this in my head.
Do you need the first letter or the first line?
Mm-mm.
We're gonna have to do this coffee style or coffee house style because I'm pretty sure the baby's sleeping. But
Yeah. The chorus will be interesting. We'll see how we address that. But
I might be able to do something on the fly. Ready?
knowledge is power, and power is the key. The power of love is where it should be. It's just walking on that city street and singing to strangers out of key. When you see me coming, I'm alone. Keep it to myself. I've got a one-track mind. I'm on a journey of my own. Grant me one wish, that we could all be where people are happy, just like you and me. And the expression puts a smile on my face. Realize that you ain't got it bad. You haven't even had a taste. When you see me coming, I'm alone. Keep it to myself. I've got a one-track mind. I'm on a journey of my own. Knowledge is power, and power is the key. Power of love is where it should be. Woo-hoo.
That's one thing I miss about being young and having less responsibilities is having the time to really invest in writing a song, you know. Like I'll sit down and I'll come up with like little licks and stuff, but that's as far as it goes, you
I
know.
know. You know, Jeremy and I still wax poetically about how I kind of feel bad for a lot of people that have never felt that feeling. This is going to sound like cocky shit, but I feel
I
bad
think I know where you're going with
for
this.
people that have never had that feeling of that positive feedback on stage.
Oh,
You know, that camaraderie of you playing something that you wrote with your buds and people actually enjoying it and giving you feedback.
Yep. Yeah.
It'll shake you.
When we played that Battle of the Bands, that was a crazy day. When we played that Battle of the Bands, man, that was my first gig. I think, yeah, because I think we did that show before we did the New Year's Eve show, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that was
that was in the fall sometime.
That was my very first gig, and there was easily 2,500 people there throughout the day.
I mean, when we played, I feel like we packed them in pretty good.
When we were on stage, the room was packed.
And that was a full, like, Clutch Cargo's venue.
Yep.
If anybody local to Michigan
knows
in the mid-2000s
knew about Clutch Cargo's. Yeah.
Not small, not huge. It was an old, big church.
My heart was pounding out of my chest the whole time we were on. And because it was my first time on stage, I didn't know what it was like to be outside of the band practice space. Mm-hmm. So I had no experience with stage monitors. Mm-hmm. I couldn't hear myself at all.
None of us could. I sound guide the sound guy.
Hey, sound guy.
Which is a no-no.
That's a giant no-no. That's probably why the rest of the show. Yeah, we couldn't hear ourselves. But I was told for those, what did we play, like 6 or 7 songs?
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was playing. I mean, I knew I was playing the song, but I couldn't hear a single note of what I was. I'm ripping through guitar solos and can't hear myself.
Yeah, this is like, it's not 1970 where like Jason would have had 3 full stacks behind him.
Right.
You know, it was going through house speakers.
Yep, everything.
So there's nothing on stage essentially.
Everything was run through the house system, so we had. And I don't fully understand that phenomena. You think you would think when you're standing in front of a full monitor, you know, a set of monitors, and it's broadcasting out towards the audience, you'd think that you'd be able to hear that perfectly fine. But for whatever reason, if you don't have those floor monitors blasting back towards you, you can't hear shit.
Well, I think it's a case of, now, total bro science here. I think it's the sound waves don't have enough time to develop, or they're washing each other on stage.
Right.
Because the further away, the more clear in that room it's going to be. That's why the sound guy's at the back of the room, in the middle of the room.
Okay.
Because that's where the sound has time to actually develop.
Right.
You know, like, surround sound systems and stuff like that. They're set up specifically to each room so that those speakers have enough space to throw their sound waves enough for them to blend and create a full picture. You know? So I think it has something to do with that.
But
it's just like a bass, you know, like when you're standing right on a bass woofer, like I feel like I don't feel like, and then I'll stand across the room and it's pounding me in the chest.
All of a sudden you're getting heart attack level pressure. Yeah. Right. No, but so yeah, playing that first gig, I can't hear nothing. My heart's pounding out of my chest.
Yep.
Did I make an idiot out of myself before or after we went on stage? Do you remember what I did?
Were you out of tune for one of the songs? No, that
actually,
was Matt.
No, I did fall out of tune for one of the songs. So it happened to
both of you then. Okay.
But no, do you remember that one band that had... Was it the girl bass player or was it the girl lead singer? But they were in the middle of a song and they had a break in the middle of the song, and I didn't know that they had a break in the middle of the song, and I yelled out, "You're fucking hot."
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And it was dead silent in the whole room.
You got a giggle out of it though. Everybody appreciated it.
She smiled at me, so whatever. But it was pretty embarrassing, you know, like it was one of those, it was like a record scratch moment, you know, like, you're fucking hot. And everybody turns and looks at this idiot guitar player sitting in the back of the club in a cloud of smoke, because we were compulsive chain smokers back then. We
really leaned into the rock star thing hard there.
Yeah, we kind of tried though. Like we made being in a band our job.
We really
literally did. It was 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. The only time I wasn't at that band practice space was when I had a college class. That's it.
Yep.
You know. Oh, and I had a seasonal job at the time, so I had winters off, and I would work during the summer.
Company on the property every once in a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah, tenants will hire them.
No shit.
Yeah.
But I mean, we went for it. You know. I mean,
yeah.
Do you remember when? What was it? It wasn't DTE. Some media company, whatever the promoter was putting on that contest for
Leonard Skinner,
for the to be the Leonard Skinner opener.
We wrote a song in 28 minutes and thought we were going to open for Leonard Skinner with 2.5 songs.
Yeah, we had 2.5 songs, and we're like, dude, we're going to open for Leonard Skinner. Birdman, do you remember Bird?
I had a serious touch of fucking Dunning-Kruger back then, I'll tell you what.
I did too.
Woo!
I did too. But do you remember Steve just camped out on Clay's computer for like 3 days? Just
I think he got us like kicked out of it because they could absolutely tell it was just being spammed from the same IP.
It was the same IP address
like
for 3 days.
6 different email addresses, just the same IP over and over and over again.
God, we were stupid back then.
Set up a vocal recording booth out of 4 mattresses and a couple of belts.
Hey, you know what though? I'm proud of that because that vocal track sounded really good.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Necessity is. I wonder.
And I got in a fight with my girlfriend at a time right before we were about to do that take. Just absolute blowout. You know, she's yelling out in the driveway, you know, big hullabaloo, all this stuff. My buddy leans out the window. Sorry for all you youth listeners. This is not for your ears, but he goes, stick your thumb in her butthole. That'll really piss her off. And that really pissed her off.
That really pissed her off.
So she, you know, proceeds to fly down the road in reverse while screaming at the top of her lungs. And I go back inside to record that vocal take.
So needless to say, Todd was very angry when we recorded that.
Yeah.
I think I might have that track saved on a USB.
Oh, that'd be funny to throw in at the end of one of these episodes or something.
I'll throw that shit in right now. Now, granted, the quality of the recording is 4 stoners in a basement. You know what I mean?
One take, like, recorded on not pirated software, but like...
No, it's totally legal. It's open source.
Yeah, free open source recording software that, like... Oh no, that was Jeremy's. He had been using like this, expired copy of like a free recording software. He would have to like reload the entire thing every time we went to use it. Like it was just an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, that's no good, man. That's, you know what though? In some ways, I think it's like my theory, and I probably sound like a total idiot saying this, but it's like my theory about learning how to play guitar on a crappy guitar.
It's only going to make you better once you hop onto a easy guitar to play.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
100%.
So like when you have to struggle with stuff like that and like force yourself to understand it, I feel like it makes you a better, you know, in that regard, it would be an audio engineer, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
But it makes you a better, you have a better understanding of audio engineering because you had to do it with shit equipment.
Yep.
So you had to be creative and make it sound good.
I was even talking to a friend of ours about you doing this. I was like, I don't know why I was surprised that the intro sounded so good with what you were working with. But I was talking to him. I was like, I don't know why I'm surprised. The man literally built entire drum parts on an iPod. Not an iPad.
No, it's even...
not an whatever pro computer. Literally like a touch screen iPod.
No, that's partially true. So how I did it was I had a really good sounding, like if you plugged it into a set of speakers, it sounded like a good kit.
Yeah.
And it was on my iPod, you know, it was this little drum set.
Yep.
So what I did was I went through like the kick drum. So I hit the kick drum once and recorded it.
Yep.
Just one time.
Yep.
Okay. And I did that with every single drum, snare, every single tom, all the cymbals. So I've got a drum library.
Yeah.
Okay. And I've even expanded it now.
And that's how producers do it nowadays.
Is it?
Yeah,
Dude,
they have like Ableton is a software where like they just give you suites of all these different sounds.
yeah.
Every different instrument, every different sound that makes, and they're like recorded from the actual instrument making the sound. Like,
Honestly,
super high quality.
Honestly, I would rather just set up a good drum kit and play the drum part myself because that shit is maddening to do. And it takes so long because you've got your metronome and then you have to figure out.
I never want to play to a metronome again.
I love playing to a metronome.
It's brutal anymore.
Don't get me wrong. I love the feeling of the freeform flow.
Yep.
Like when we're doing the
Swelling
covers.
and
When we're doing the covers in the cover band, there's nothing better than just that raw energy in it. But if I'm recording something, I will only go to a metronome. Yeah, you have to.
And with the last band I was in, there was no playing what we were playing without a metronome.
Right.
It was
polyrhythmic,
and each of us has a drum pad and a keyboard that we're playing at the same time, and it's just
that, in my opinion. I mean, I admire that. I admire the ambition, but for me personally, having to be that technical about it takes the fun out of it for me.
Precisely.
Granted, it's all about different styles of music, and it's all about what
It'll
you're
still
into.
give you the fizz when you come together and you actually nail that thing because it's impressive, but just the fun factor of the actual creation isn't there.
Right. And I'm either a down and dirty rocker or I'm a folky.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So to be that technical with stuff, to me, it's just not fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And we were making, our instrument was basically 12 instruments all mounted onto the same rack system that we called an electropop spaceship. Like we were making math music for alien people.
Yeah, don't get me wrong though. That thing was cool.
It was awesome.
That thing
to behold.
was cool.
It was so cool. But
it's too technical.
It was us at the time, but it's not me. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like we were into that thing at the time, but I'm back to my roots with organic kind of music anymore.
Right.
I'm really into like we were talking about before this, the outlaw country scene.
Yep.
A lot of the folk music. There's a lot of, just cool, weird, rock still being made with bands like Dr. Dog and stuff like that. There's so much good music out there.
Right.
Nowadays. I find it hilarious when fuddy-duddies are just like, oh, you can't, there's no good musicians or music or whatever these days. I was like, it's not music's fault that you are incapable of adapting and finding it. It is there to be found in astounding higher numbers than ever before thought possible.
My only argument, and this is partial laziness on my part, but my only argument against that is that I've actually, when it comes to new music, I've somewhat lost interest, just simply because it's like I'm not in the same mental place, as I was.
Well, there's also optional paralysis involved, at least with me. There's so much of it coming out so fast
that you don't know what to pick.
Yeah, even things that I think I'm finding that are brand new are 6 and 7 years old at this point. Sometimes it's like, holy shit.
Excuse me. But so I found that recording. This is our first
actual recording.
This is the first song we ever recorded in the first band we were ever in.
Yep.
And we had 2.5 songs written, and we entered this song into a contest to open up for Leonard Skinner at DTE.
Legitimately thought we could do it.
I would say Delusions of Grandeur is a pretty good way to describe it. So, here, let me set this up real quick. I hope that picks it up. It should. I hope that's not cranked. Oops. Let's restart that. Sorry for the terrible sound quality.
We were so proud of this.
Oh God, we were proud of this.
better than I remember, to be honest.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. But again, we made that when we were, what, 18? 19 maybe? And we had no idea what the hell we were doing.
Nope.
Not, at least when it came to recording.
Winging it.
Because I'm not going to lie. I kind of wax nostalgic about that band because I feel like if we would have, not been retards, that band
fair.
actually, that had potential because it had just enough of the weirdness. Because that was really rock. But our other songs.
Well, we intentionally went straight rock to try and appease to that Leonard Skinner kind of crowd.
We were definitely pandering on that one. But our other songs, it had just enough of that weirdness, but just enough of that mainstream
funky. It was
vibe.
dancey.
Yep.
It was
party music.
Yeah.
And if we would have really tried, I think we could have made something out of that.
Could have at least got like medium regional popularity.
Some type of exposure.
Yeah.
Even if it was like
maybe
a one
even
hit.
make money to go play a show. Like not much, but enough to cover like loading our shit and driving there and loading it back up and leaving.
Like to get in a van and drive to Indiana.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then go do a bar show or something. We could have did that.
Yeah.
But plus there was a lot of ego. And dude, it's funny. We're sitting here talking about a band that went nowhere, but it really had one of those like VH1 behind the music stories. It really did. That band was your stereotypical train wreck rock band.
It was such a shit show at times, and so just absolute family at others. We would have Sofa King Christmas and Sofa King Thanksgiving together, and just
get together and cook big meals.
I mean, like he said earlier, we treated it like a full-time job. It was 8 hours of practice a day. But I know it didn't sound like it in that recording, but like I said, that was right early on. And by the end of it, we were all pretty proud of what we could do.
I think, too, though, the main reasons that band broke up was because, one, we blew up all of our amps. Like, we were loud. Yeah. Like, I don't know how Clay's dad didn't just come downstairs and tell us to shut the hell up.
I think it's because we didn't suck.
Yeah,
I mean, we sucked at first, but at least we got to the point where...
You know what it's like to be in a band. Dude, we would play some of those songs over and over, and oh, God.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I have some of the... I still remember how to play those songs because we played them so many times.
The neural pathways created on some of those songs are
deep. It's like burned into my brain.
Deep.
But we blew up all of our amps, and then... the basement got flooded out, and that was it. The rest of our gear got destroyed at that point.
And we were all starving artists at the time. We didn't have fucking $200 between the four of us to buy an amp.
And then after that, whatever gear we had left over, we went and pawned it for bags of weed and shit. We were buying cigarettes and shit.
We got to a point where we were rolling, not rolling cigarettes with filters, hand rolling
cigarettes,
bagged tobacco with zigzags, filterless.
We lived it, man. We tried. We definitely tried. But that, and then the egos got in the way. I know my ego got in the way.
I feel like there's no other outcome of 420-something-year-old men in that close of proximity that often that ego is definitely going to come into play.
Right. You remember the night, was it the night before? It wasn't the night before Clutch Cargoes. Was it the night before the New Year's Eve show when Matt forgot all of his bass lines and I flipped out on him?
I thought you were going to have an actual stroke. Like an actual, are you smelling toast right now? Smile for me, Jason. You're having a stroke.
Sorry about that technical difficulty. So yeah, well, he forgets his parts and we got this gig coming up and it's like, again, I had an ego and I was an a-hole and
it wasn't just a gig. It was a gig in front of all of our peers that we actually give a shit about their opinion.
Right.
And are excited to play in front of, and we know it has the potential to just be a raucous time.
Right. And this Oreo motherfucker The dude is the whitest dude you'll ever see, but that boy
Aggressively white.
Aggressively white. But that boy has a chocolate soul. You know, he's just smooth on that bass guitar, and that boy is just full of soul. But anyway, so he forgets his guitar part. What do you mean you forgot your guitar parts?
Like, not just a couple or here and there or a line, like complete blackout.
Yep.
Completely
Just
gone.
No idea what he was supposed to play.
Not even the first note. And, you know, I've had moments like that where you just have a brain fart. I did it on that song that we just sang, but usually you're able to pick it up within a couple seconds. This was nothing. Gone.
He had nothing. The night before a gig, I couldn't believe it. I don't think now I would do something like that where I'd freak out, but I'd still be like stunned. Like, what do you mean you forgot all of your parts?
Yeah. Like,
you know?
How?
How?
I'm amazed.
Yeah, I'm not even mad. I'm amazed.
Were you abducted?
Right.
Did the Men in Black do the little clicky guy?
Because,
like, what happened?
Because, like, you were playing that part 5 minutes ago, and now all of a sudden, you wrote that part, and now all of a sudden you have no idea how to play it. What is happening?
But even with all that strife, everything came together.
When we were on, man, we were a good band. We were a really good band.
We brought the house down.
Mm-hmm. You remember New Year's? That
That's
New Year's show was
about.
Outrageous, man.
That was the funnest show I've ever played.
That's the funnest show I've ever played, I think. Well, I don't know, man. I've played some seriously wild shows with single barrel blackout. The drunkest show I've ever played. Holy
Well, you didn't even drink back then.
No, not during the Sofa Kings days. No, I was not anti-alcohol, but I just didn't like drinking.
Yeah.
But we played this one show one night out in St. Clair at this little dive bar. I forget now. The Bell River Lounge, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how we videoed it. We have the video footage of it, and we did really good.
Yeah.
I have no idea how.
Right.
Because my memories of the third set of that show are like a skipping film reel.
Yeah.
It's like it's flashes of stuff.
Yep.
And I remember feeling extraordinarily loose.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were
That's how I was at your wedding.
At one point, pretty much the whole edge of the stage was lined up with beer bottles and shots.
Yeah.
These people were trying to give us alcohol poisoning.
Yep.
It was ridiculous.
Yep.
And I hit a point where I had to stop. So like I started just giving my beer and stuff to the other guys in the band. But we're up there and we're just shit-faced. And somehow we made it through 12 songs.
Through it, huh?
And it was good.
Yep.
So that was definitely the drunk. And plus, on top of that, we had been pre-gaming before the show. There was another bar.
As you should.
There was another bar like 2 miles down the road.
Yep.
So before our sets, we went and hung out at that bar and got a good buzz going.
Oh, yeah.
And then we went and started our show, and these people just started pouring alcohol down our throats, man. Oh, I think she drove home she drove home. Yeah, she drove home because I remember we took some back way home and she was getting pissed because we didn't know where we were at and they were not making it easy to follow.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
So, but yeah, that was a wild night. That was a wild night. But as far as like,
I just remember Ben's dad coming in on that New Year's Eve party to let us know it was the new year and just fucking on the mic, just screaming. Oh man. I remember doing.
Do you remember? Was that the show that I had to stand on that rubber mat because if I stepped off of it, my guitar would electrocute me?
Yep.
Oh my God.
That was the beginning of the end of our amps.
That was the homemade amp, wasn't it? There was a bad ground in it or something, and it was sending the electricity back through.
Yeah, you were completing the circuit.
Yeah. So if I stepped off that rubber mat, I was getting serious. Like my hand, like when you put one of those muscle tensors
like 110
on your arm,
volts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm over here strong hand in the neck of the guitar if I stepped off of that rubber mat. Oops. Yeah, those were the days.
Oh shit, man.
Well, we're just about at the 2:21 mark, so any it's getting late. We should probably wrap this thing up. Any last thoughts for the night?
Well, I'm just glad and happy that my friends are finding passions that they're interested in and just diving into them, man.
As am I.
Fucking congratulations on all of this.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thanks for doing this, man.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
This was
my
fun.
pleasure.
This is
fun.
It's been a long time since we've seen each other. This is a lot of fun.
Way too long. So yeah, we're going to have to get together here again soon because like we were saying off mic, we haven't even scratched the surface.
Yeah, we haven't. We could sit here and do a 6-hour podcast. I don't know if anybody would find it interesting, but we could easily do a 6-hour podcast.
Yeah, we
just telling stories. Just telling stories.
Ooh, do we got some stories? But I just want to thank anybody out there that's listening for supporting my friends and what they do. You know, it's always scary to take a risk on something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, support those that do because we need them.
Yep. And there's something to this. There really is. There's something to this whole movement in new media.
Yeah.
I really think maybe I might be off base on this one, but I really think it's the dawning of the. I mean, you saw it with like Facebook and stuff, but like everyone's a journalist now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Granted, there's some bad to that because you get some really terrible opinions. Who knows? I'm sure there's a sect of people out there that are going to find this entire conversation idiotic, but.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I kind of hope that is the case because, I mean, I feel like if you're saying things worth saying, there's going to be people that disagree.
Yep. But there's something to this. So I'm excited to embark on it. And
yeah,
anytime you want to come back, man,
hell yeah,
you're always welcome.
Absolutely.
Call me up. Hey, man, let's do a podcast. I got some stuff I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Get at me. Let's do this again. So, anything you want to promote? Anything you working on you want to promote?
Not as of yet, but as soon as I do, I'll let you know.
All right. Well, everybody want to say thanks again for listening. We really appreciate it. If you could leave a comment or leave an email, share the show with your friends. The only way we can grow or the best way we can grow is with your help. So drop us a line, and I think that calls it, right? Yeah, we're good for the night. All right, so take care of yourselves, be safe, be cool, and see you guys later. You want to say bye?
No. It's not bye yet. I'll be back.
All right. Thanks again, everybody. Have a good one.
This episode was brought to you by Northern Enlightenment Studios, a division of Northern Enlightenment Entertainment Media. We hope you have enjoyed this program. Goodbye.
End transmission.